numbers. It means nothing. The only numbers that matter are the numbers in ICU and deaths, which are very low. When compared with other years, there were excess deaths from late March to early May, amounting to about 900, and not the 1800 that they keep pushing in our face. There are now no excess deaths since early May, and this is why the case number reporting must stop. They're just using it to demoralize and subdue the people.
How many people died of cancer in that time?
My mother is 88. She says she's not afraid of COVID. She remembers the Second World War, and then life went on despite the turmoil. There were no Panzer tanks in Ireland, but there was a killer that took 2,000 to 3,000 people every year in the 20s, the 30s, and the 40s. Only in the 1950s did we begin to overcome this enemy. People contracted it the same way that you contract COVID. But unlike COVID, it took people in the prime of their lives. This enemy was called TB, tuberculosis. But back then there was no NPHET to lock down Ireland and shut the schools and the places where we meet and work. There was no NPHET to hijack the country. We must remember that unlike TB, COVID kills people with an average age of 84. The average life expectancy in Ireland is 82. 90% of the deaths are in those over 65. So by any reasonable definition at this point, COVID is no longer a health emergency. We must take back our country and our freedoms from these megalomaniac bureaucrats. Dr. Noel Brown would turn in his grave to see what has been done to this country in the name of public health. I speak from my own experience as a GP. I worked in a COVID hub during the early part of the pandemic, and I still see COVID patients in my own experience, in my own practice, I mean. So I've seen lots of it, and a fairly full spectrum of it as well. For many, it is a mild illness, but for some I accept that it can be quite serious, especially for those with multiple comorbidities, such as older age, obesity, heart-lung disease, and diabetes. In defiance of guidelines from the HSE, I used hydroxychloroquine, zinc, azithromycin, and readily available vitamin D in combination high-risk patients that got sick with COVID in my patient population. Hydroxychloroquine's been around for 70 years. It's been used for the treatment of malaria and autoimmune diseases. It's freely available over the counter in many parts